Hello, I'm Griffin. Stay tuned. My book summary will play now. The Technology Trap explores the impact of technological progress on economic and political dynamics throughout history. It draws rich parallels between the Industrial Revolution and the current age of automation, highlighting the potential for both long-term progress and short-term disruption. What would happen if the job you do today became obsolete tomorrow? How can you adapt in a world where the skills you've learned become irrelevant almost overnight? In this summary, you'll examine the history of technological change from the Industrial Revolution to the rise of artificial intelligence. You'll see how each wave of disruption brings both promise and peril, and how the benefits of progress don't always accrue to everyone equally. You'll also learn about post-war America and how this era of technology has led to growing equality and middle-class prosperity. And you'll see how this trend has reversed in recent decades. As we stand on the brink of a new era of technological disruption, these questions have never been more relevant. Whether you're an entrepreneur, policymaker, or simply a curious reader, this summary offers insight into what it takes to build a future of innovation that benefits us all. Key point 1. Lighting the path to the future. Picture New York City in near total darkness, a city of millions stumbling through dark streets, lit only by the moon and stars. New York City's lamplighters are now largely forgotten, but before electrification, they were the unsung heroes who ensured that streets remained navigable after sunset. Each worker was responsible for lighting and maintaining about 50 oil lamps, making the rounds each night. In 1907, the lamplighters staged a strike, plunging New York into an eerie darkness. The introduction of electric streetlights was rendering their once essential skills obsolete. The lamplighters, once a proud part of the city's fabric, were unceremoniously pushed aside. Thomas Edison's groundbreaking invention of the light bulb undeniably made the world a brighter place. The price of light plummeted and electricity spread like wildfire, illuminating the grandest venues and humblest streets alike. But it came at a cost. Lamplighters, despite acknowledging the clear superiority of the new system, nevertheless struggled to adapt in the face of this technological revolution. Throughout history, technology has been the single most important driver behind economic and social change. From the humble wooden plow to the modern computer, each innovation has reshaped the way we live and work. Economists estimate that over 80% of the income differences between rich and poor countries can be explained by differential rates of technology adoption. But the impact of technology extends beyond economic growth. It has fundamentally altered the qualitative fabric of our daily lives, making the impossible possible and the once luxurious commonplace. The average person now enjoys comforts and conveniences that would have been unimaginable to even the wealthiest a few generations ago, from electrified homes to democratized travel and communication. All of this began with the Industrial Revolution, the monumental shift that occurred from the late 18th century to the early 19th century, which moved societies from agrarian economies to industrial ones. But it took time for industrialization's benefits to reveal themselves and for the tremendous wealth it generated to diffuse throughout society. In the shorter term, it wreaked havoc, ushering in an era of unprecedented social upheaval as artisans and craftsmen saw their livelihoods vanish, replaced by the mechanized factories that would come to define the modern age. Desperate workers, most famously the Luddites, smashed machines in protest. These workers clashed with the British Army and the rising class of industrialists who embraced mechanization. The industrialists won, but their victory wasn't inevitable. Many European cities prohibited automatic looms in the 17th century to prevent worker unrest. In China, well into the 19th century, imported sewing machines were destroyed by workers fearful of losing their jobs. For centuries, political leaders sided with workers over automation, recognizing that angry citizens posed a greater threat to their power than the promise of increased productivity. It was only with the Industrial Revolution in Britain that this calculus changed, as the rising influence of factory owners tipped the scales in favor of mechanization. Key point 2. The Great Leveling. Imagine an era where blue-collar factory workers steadily achieve middle-class lifestyles on the basis of their wages alone. a time when even high school graduates could expect to find secure, decent-paying jobs, a time of soaring productivity, waning inequality, and a growing sense that a rising tide was lifting all boats. This is no utopian fantasy. It describes the lived reality of the American workforce for much of the period between 1870 and 1970, an era economists have dubbed the Great Leveling. What powered this extraordinary progress? It sprung from what historians call the Second Industrial Revolution, which brought us innovations such as the internal combustion engine. Rather than simply automating workers' jobs, these innovations spawned completely new industries and occupations. Productivity gains actually flowed through to workers' paychecks, and as employment shifted from farms and coal mines to electrified factories and air-conditioned offices, work also became less dangerous. When does technology bring this kind of prosperity? One factor is whether a new technology enables workers to do their jobs better or replaces them entirely. Some technologies naturally lend themselves to the former or the latter. Yet a major driver of shared prosperity in 20th century America was the productive interplay between technological progress and education. Public high school education played a starring role as attendance soared from 9% in 1910 to 40% in 1935. Firms' growing appetite for literate, numerate workers made education an excellent investment. The relative supply of skilled workers reliably outpaced demand, ensuring that the wage premium for education stayed modest. This was no accident, but the result of conscious policy choices to make schooling accessible, from compulsory attendance laws to public funding of secondary education. Drawing on Nobel Prize-winning economist Jan Tinbergen, the author suggests that when the race between technology and education stays neck and neck, broadly shared prosperity is the natural result. Of course, other factors like unionization, the World Wars, and the Great Depression also played supporting roles in the Great Leveling. Top incomes dwindled as the Depression decimated investors' portfolios. The sky-high marginal tax rates of wartime also bit deep. The New Deal and new laws empowering unions shifted the balance of power toward labor, and tighter immigration quotas relieved pressure on low-end wages. But surging productivity and education remained central to the story. Indeed, workers largely stopped resisting mechanization, recognizing that the benefits decisively outweighed the costs. After 1879, not a single violent incident against agricultural machinery was recorded, as farmers pragmatically embraced tractors once cheap labor grew scarce. Unions focused on ensuring workers shared in the gains of technical change rather than fruitlessly obstructing it. Yet this heyday of inclusive growth offers no ironclad guarantees for the future. The trajectory of social inequality hinges on a kind of race, a race between the demand for skills and their supply. While electricity and mass production proved a massive boon for ordinary workers, the same wouldn't always hold true for future waves of innovation. Key point 3. Reversal of fortunes. The Second Industrial Revolution, which powered the US economy through the post-World War II era, laid the foundation for broad-based prosperity. But this golden age wouldn't last forever. In the 1980s, a new force began to reshape the American labor market: computers and automation. While the preceding technologies had served to augment the capabilities of workers, machines powered by microchips and software were now replacing them entirely. Routine jobs in manufacturing, clerical work, and other middle-skill occupations began to disappear. For those without advanced education, real wages stagnated and then fell. The impact has been especially severe for men. Striking data shows that prime-age male joblessness has surged in recent decades, as many displaced workers struggle to find new opportunities. For every multi-purpose industrial robot deployed, over 3 jobs have been lost. The result is an increasingly polarized economy with a persistently large underclass, a shrinking middle, and big gains concentrated at the top. Now, with artificial intelligence or AI advancing, will this trend accelerate? AI is making remarkable strides in what was formerly the exclusive domain of human intelligence. Complex games like Go, a game that has more possible moves than atoms in the universe, have been mastered by some AI systems. Machine translation, speech recognition, and image classification have all seen dramatic improvements thanks to neural networks that can identify patterns and make decisions based on vast amounts of data. And large language models like ChatGPT have taken the world by storm. Neural networks are now being applied to an ever-expanding range of tasks in the real world. Self-driving cars and trucks, guided by AI and arrays of sensors, are taking to the roads. Even complex tasks like medical diagnosis are coming within reach of AI systems. A 2013 study estimated that 47% of US jobs are potentially automatable based on current AI capabilities. That said, just because a job can be automated doesn't mean it will happen overnight. New technologies often require complementary innovations, organizational changes, and skill upgrades to be fully harnessed. Self-driving trucks, for example, aren't just a matter of technology, they require changes to infrastructure and regulations. And while AI may render some jobs obsolete, it will also create new opportunities that are hard to predict in advance. After all, who could have foreseen the rise of social media managers or data scientists just a few decades ago? In the past, as difficult as the transitions were, these new opportunities were enough to offset the jobs lost to automation. Will this continue? No one knows for sure, but if history is any guide, the path ahead is likely to be rocky, especially for those without in-demand skills and education. Economic polarization could intensify, displacing workers into lower-wage jobs, fueling resentment and political backlash. Meeting this challenge may require reimagining our social contract, finding new ways to redistribute economic gains, and provide meaning and stability in an age of technological disruption. The alternative, an increasingly fractured and unstable society, is one we can ill afford. Final summary. The main takeaway of this summary to the technology trap by Benedikt Frey is that technology has been the singular defining force shaping human progress and prosperity. Since the Industrial Revolution, each wave of innovation has brought irreversible changes to the way we live and work, and ultimately, a dramatic rise in standards of living. Yet the benefits haven't always been immediately apparent, nor evenly distributed. In the short term, technological disruption often leads to social upheaval and dislocation. In the 20th century, rising education levels and new technologies combined to drive an era of growing equality and middle-class prosperity. Computers then drove this trend into reverse, with jobs automated away and gains increasingly concentrated at the top. With AI making inroads, even greater disruption lies ahead, requiring us to reimagine our institutions and redefine the social contract for a new era.
Call me Griffin, hear my name. Living stories never tame. In a book where dreams collide. Come along, enjoy the ride.
Thanks so much for listening. Please leave us a comment, and if you like my content, please subscribe. We always appreciate your feedback.